For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby Jones?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about.
Born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed at one of the largest military installations.
That little music in the background, it goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed it.
Chilling details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
Him, they dropped the ball, man. Like they said, he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast, welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me are my good buddies, as always, Hyman and Blue. We'll start off with you, Big Blue, tonight. How you doing, my man?
Good. You know, just had to be pulling this bad boy out right now. That's why we're late, guys. That's my fault. My smoke alarm kept chirping. You know, this battery's a little low. Let's see how low it is.
That smoke alarm sure did have a funny shape. Hyman, how are you doing?
Oh, the battery's strong. What the fuck?
I think there he goes. He's muting himself.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I got a napkin. I got a nap in, and I ate some food, which is pretty good. I'm feeling good.
You got a napkin? Were you playing with Blue's smoke detector?
Not today. It was last week, I believe.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. I mean, the battery was low. It was making noise. Yeah. It was pretty loud too. We were doing the preview show or pre-show, stuff going on, and then I nearly lost my hearing because it was so freaking loud. But glad he got that taken care of. It's not the first time we've had a fire alarm issue. It's happened before.
Plenty of times.
Yeah, a few times. Well, with that being said,
that battery numbed it up pretty good.
That's freaking Blue. Blue, you're not working tonight, right?
I'm off tonight, so I'm enjoying a little bit of apple soda with a little bit of whiskey.
Nice. Well, I might join you here in a minute and get something. But today we're going to be talking about 2 cases that we've been covering for the last year or so, or over a year now. And the first one we're going to be talking about is going to be the Richard Allen case out of Delphi. He was back in court. There was a little bit of, I guess, an issue with his attorneys and the judge. And, well, we're going to get into all those things that happened and give you guys our opinion on what this means and where we expect this to go from here. So without further ado, let's bring the first video that we're going to watch, and then we'll react to it. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Dang, at the same time. Check it out. Member for 9 months, Angel D. Ooh, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Angel.
Angel D's pretty awesome, man. She's cool. Sometimes there's one time she scared the crap out of me though. Well, not just me, Jaime as well. We were playing Fortnite, and then all of a sudden somebody just jumped on in and was spectating us, and then they started playing like with us, and we're like, who are you? And and they wouldn't identify who they were, but it was all good fun. It was a good time. So without further ado, let's get back into it. So this is the update in the Delphi murder case
that we're covering today. The original defense team for Richard Allen are now back on the Delphi murders case.
Yeah, Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin filed to represent Richard Allen, and the news came as a shock just 24 hours ago, and only a few hours after the Indiana Supreme Court heard arguments about the case. But experts say this does not mean those attorneys will not get taken off the case again. Fox 59's Eric Graves is back in the studio with us this afternoon.
Yeah,
So basically what happened is there was a court hearing. There was arguments back and forth whether or not Richard Allen could get his attorneys back. I think the other argument was if he does get his attorneys back, if trial can proceed 70 days after the decision, to speed up the court. And I think there was the other third decision was on whether or not they were going to retain the judge or not. So Richard Allen won one of three. His lawyers were retained. Trial, though, is still set for, I believe, in October, and Judge Gold still remains as the judge. First and foremost, what do you think, Jaime, do you think it was the right move or not to give Richard Allen the attorneys that of his choosing?
You froze, man. I don't know if you can't hear me.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Could you hear me, Blue?
I can hear you.
Okay. It was Jaime. All right. So basically what I said was, no problem. Basically what I said was, do you think it was the right move to get Richard Allen his attorneys back?
Yeah, no, I think that was the best outcome he could have gone for, could have got. The fact is that at the end of the day, it's his choice, and you can't take that away from.
That's true.
I know the lawyers itself said that about the judge, that they pretty much bullied them right into opting out of the case. But I think at this point, if the lawyers are reinstated for Richard Allen, I think they should change the judge. But I don't know if that's going to affect the outcome of the 7 months that we already have for the start of this trial.
I don't know if it will. But his attorneys wanted Richard Allen's case to be started, a trial start within 70 days. One thing that was said in that piece was that it didn't mean that they couldn't be removed later. Now, if we go back to why they were removed, apparently the judge had told the attorneys that they were going to have a hearing, and that more than likely they were going to be kicked off the case. So she was giving them the opportunity to resign before fired, basically. And they felt that they weren't given the proper amount of time to answer to these allegations as to why they're going to kick them off the case. And so the argument was from Richard Allen's defense team is that, like you said, that they were kind of forced into it. They had no time to react or prepare for it. And but the thing is, it had to do with the release of the pictures and stuff. So she found them to be neglectful. Now, they can still have that hearing that she told them about. And if they have that hearing, they can still be kicked out at that point. Do you think that might be the reason why they didn't give him the 70 days? Is because they anticipate a hearing where they're going to have those attorneys removed and the other two put back in? What do you guys think?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that there's a possibility that, they were found to be leaks in their but they, in their organization, but they fired the person that was leaking the information. So they're credible, but it's one of those things where like some of the stuff that they did to fix it, they could have done better. So maybe the lawyer or the judge is gonna say, "Hey, I know you want these guys to represent you, but if you are found guilty, automatically it's gonna be like I want another trial. These guys were incompetent." So maybe to avoid that, they wanted to switch just the lawyers. That way they can have more of a competent trial.
Right. No, and I agree with that. And I think that that's the move that the judge was doing. It wasn't so much a move to hinder Richard Allen. I think it was actually a move to help him, right? Because if these attorneys are acting incompetent, they shouldn't be representing him. He should have the best representation, out there that's going to, work for him the best. And having documents leaked out in the manner that they were, without any context to it, with him being who's been arrested and charged for these crimes, people are going to associate. And I know there's a big movement on YouTube, but that's not everybody, right? And there's few comments saying, Richard Allen is innocent, this and that. There's a lot more people that think he did it, right? And if those pictures come out and they see that, they think he already did it, and they're going to attribute those pictures to Richard Allen, and that's not going to equal to a fair trial. So I think that could be another reason why they're prolonging the trial, because maybe perhaps the longer we get away from the situation where the pictures were leaked, the less, they're out there. I mean, people have short-term memory. So, they'll know that it happened, but with time, it won't be as big of a thing. You know what I mean? There's reasons behind things. Yeah. So do you guys think that she's going to pull the hearing? What do you think, Jaime? Do you think she's going to pull the hearing and pull the judges? I mean, the attorneys, after all?
I hope not. Because if they could do that to him, they could do that to anybody. Even if one of us is out there needing our lawyer and he gets bullied off of the case and we need him back or we want him back, we don't have a say. So, that's our right. So them taking it away from him or removing his lawyers is like kind of taking away our right, or his right.
Right. Well, I mean, in the beginning, they kind of spoke about a possibility of him signing or waiving his right for appeal based on incompetent lawyers. All right. And they seemed very hesitant in doing that. They didn't want to do that at all. It seemed to me like that was almost something that they want to keep in their back pocket as a possibility if Richard Allen indeed ends up becoming found guilty of, I think it's now going to be 5 charges instead of just the 2. So, or 6 charges, something like that. We'll get into that. I have a video we'll watch about the charges stuff, but yeah, I think there's a possibility they do that hearing, because think about it like this: if they get to a situation where the attorneys object to something and they don't get their way with the judge, do you think that Richard Allen's attorneys are going to file something like, hey, she was more objective towards us than the prosecution? And, they could use that as a tactic to just object to everything, knowing that it's going to get overruled, knowing that, hey, we'll have X amount of, overrules compared to the other, team. It might look better in appeal. What do you guys think about that as a tactic?
Yeah, like almost like using it as like a stance for mistrial, pretty much.
Well, not so much a mistrial, but an appeal for a new trial. Yeah.
I mean, everybody's saying it's not incompetent. I mean, I guess, then what would you call it? I guess they're saying some misconduct issues.
But it is incompetent to have somebody, you're supposed to keep those things locked up. If, regardless of anything, regardless of it was a ex-employee or whatever the case may be, that's your responsibility. Your attorney, you're responsible for that. We've had a defense attorney on our podcast say, that's why some people, don't hire many or big groups, and you have to really know your paralegals and really know, because there's a big trust to that, because you're responsible for their actions. This isn't something that Richard Allen's attorneys are finding out for the first time. This is something that is taught. This is something that this is something that you have to understand and be able to explain and do all these things. It's part of the process of becoming a lawyer. So I don't fault this. Oh no, it's not incompetence, it's misconduct, it's this or that. I don't know. I mean, if the Indiana State Supreme Court said that it's misconduct or whatever the case may be, I guess. But to say that it's not incompetent, I don't think so. I think it is very much incompetent for them to have had this leak occur. What do you guys think?
And it sucks that it happened, but something that the main lawyer cannot prevent, man. You don't know what your staff's gonna do. Even though you do have them sign, the MDAs to keep everything private, people like to gossip. People like to
well, they're not going to arrest him, Blue. I'm saying that he's responsible for his employee. So if his employee screws up, right? I mean, as a business owner, if somebody goes and screws up using my company, does he get sued or does the company get sued?
No, the company gets sued.
Okay, so who's responsible there, regardless of anything?
Maybe you and that person, but there's a smidge of responsibility to the owner or the.
It's not a smidge, my man. It's like 99%. In fact, it's probably even more than that. Now, you as an employer, you can fire that employee for their actions and their conduct, and you wouldn't have to pay their unemployment payment, but you are responsible for their actions to a certain extent. Now, if they go far above and beyond and commit the ultimate crime, like somebody is using their job to break into houses and this and that, but to a certain extent, and not so much like a legality where they're going to arrest these guys. This is on the civil side, right? Whether or not they're going to allow him to represent this man. They're responsible for it. Lawyer, our defense attorney came on and said word for word, they are responsible for what their paralegals and people that work for them do.
They are. I mean, they should only give limited access information to their paralegals, and a lot of it has to stay private between him and the client. They can't give all the information to the paralegals. They only have to give them what they need them to work on.
Exactly. And I mean, apparently this person had access to where it was, and was, it should have been under lock and key. That's what it should have been. And the fact that it wasn't, I'm not saying, like I said, that they should be, arrested for contempt of court or any of those things, but should they be responsible for the actions? Yeah. And I'm not saying both attorneys, just the one attorney that it happened to. The other attorney that it didn't happen to, yeah, I don't understand why there's a big deal for him being kicked off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand. There's always action or consequence to every action,
Yeah. And the guy who committed this is also having his own consequences. He's not getting off scot-free. He's facing the criminal charges. He's facing all these things. So, there's the difference there between the civil aspect and the criminal aspect of the case. And in this part, whether or not they're going to be held on as his attorneys is not a criminal aspect. So under this particular portion of the law, he's responsible for what occurred. In my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do think that they're going to end up pulling in um, they might end up doing a hearing. I'm not sure. Do you think if they do the hearing and take the attorneys off Blue, that it looks bad on the prosecution slash the justice system that they took his lawyer away twice?
No, I mean it's just there was some errors committed, and I think they're trying to give him the most fairest trial they can, or trying to. Also, that you got to look at the other aspect. They're probably trying to give the families a fair hearing. You know what I mean? They're not want to have to go through this big old rodeo and then have to do it again. All because, they could have done it right the first time. They could have changed something the first time that they knew was going to come up later. And then the families had to go again to court to see if he's going to be found. Because the verdicts can change sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe the defense had a point where it said that if a person can choose to defend themselves, and themselves not be an attorney or knowledgeable in the crime that's being committed or anything, or possibly not even knowledgeable in the legal system at all. If they can defend themselves, he can appoint somebody knowing the facts of what occurred.
Yeah,
I agree to that too.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty much on both sides on this one. Like, that's what he wants to be represented by, and go for it. But there might be some stipulations where, like, okay, if you're found guilty, no mistrials because they were your judge, they were your lawyers.
Mm-hmm. See, I would agree with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're not agreeing to that.
Yeah, no, it's too much of a risk. He knows that if he's going to get found guilty, he won't be able to do a mistrial.
Not under that instance. What do you think, Hyman?
Well, first of all, like, if the judge remains on this case, right, and the lawyers as well, at the end of the day, when let's say he comes out that it's the verdict comes out guilty on Richard Allen, they can still appeal, right, just for the fact that the judge removed them that first time.
Maybe not because of that, but if they do what I was saying earlier,
yeah, like biased. Yeah,
they say that she was treating them biasly. Then yeah, I think that they probably do have an avenue there. You think that it would probably be? Do you think it would be in the best interest of, of the case for the judge to to remove herself?
I think so. If it's not gonna add, I see the point when you have different lawyers taking over a case, right? That's already down the road, 7 months from the beginning of the trial, because then they will just prolong it till probably like the following year, right? Because they need time for themselves to prepare a case. But when it comes down to the judge, if it doesn't, affect the time wise, it doesn't affect the start of the trial, then I think that should be the way to go. Remove the judge, keep the lawyers, and remove the judge.
I agree. I mean, regardless of who the judge is, in my opinion, it should always be based on the evidence. So if the judge is out of there, does that change anything? You know what I mean? In my opinion, it doesn't. If the evidence says that he's guilty, then he should be guilty regardless if somebody else comes in and is the judge, as long as, they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Eligible or certified to be a judge in this situation where there is where this is a DP case, right? Or I'm not sure if it is, actually. They haven't said. But with the charges they brought up now, I think that there's a possibility that they could go that way. Let's bring that up real quick and let's talk about that. Where is it at? There it is.
Well, we want to get right to that breaking news in the Delphi murders case. Today, several big events unfolding really within just minutes of each other. The prosecutor wants to add more charges against Richard Allen, additional murder and kidnapping charges.
Also, the state Supreme Court justices heard arguments about who the attorneys and judge on the case will be. Allen is accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German nearly 7 years ago.
And we start with these new charges, specifically 2 charges of murder and 2 charges of kidnapping. Scott Swan is here now, and a lot of big questions about this development and what it means, Scott.
Yeah, a lot of developments today, Dustin, and we want to go ahead and break that down tonight with our legal expert. Katie Jackson Lindsay is a local criminal defense attorney. Thanks so much, Katie, for joining us in studio.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
So why did the prosecution decide to add 2 counts of felony murder and 2 counts of kidnapping in addition to the 2 counts of murder?
Well, only they can truly answer that, right, Scott? But it appears that the reason that they have given for doing so is that those charges were already inherent in the information that they had from the outset or at the conclusion of the investigation. So their position is that they're not really adding anything new, nothing that should be a surprise to the defense, but instead they are just adding charges that are more in line with what the evidence has shown.
All right, so maybe you can help explain to our viewers the difference between a murder charge and a felony murder charge.
Sure. So in Indiana, murder is the knowing or intentional killing of another human being. Felony murder means that you committed some other crime, some other felony, and during the course of that crime, someone died. And so under that theory, the state doesn't have to necessarily prove that Mr. Allen was the killer versus being able to prove that he was somehow involved in the killing, specifically involved in kidnapping.
So that's been the debate, huh? The debate has been, are they charging Richard Allen with just being the guy that was on the bridge? Do they think there was somebody else out there? I think this answers that question. I had said that they were charging him with felony murder because it was an enhancement. I felt that they thought that Richard Allen was the guy and that they were possibly doing this because they might lean towards a DP situation. I think that's going to end up being the case here. Now, with these charges, they're accusing him of not just committing of the crime, but also the kidnapping portion of it and the, everything else around that situation. 6 different charges. What does that say to you guys? You think they're going for a DP?
Oh, yeah, they're going for the maximum, and
that's what I think.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, like this case is crazy. From the lawyer's Odinism thing to even other suspects that were involved, that were supposedly involved, that didn't turn out. At this point, I think they're just trying to get everything they can on him. That way, they can go on the maximum. When if the verdict comes out as guilty.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Blue?
Yeah, I think they're lining it up to get all the charges done at once instead of having to have a few trials. You know what I mean?
No, they can't. No, they do it all at once. They'll I don't think they ever do anything split up, but I think this shows maybe some confidence in the case as well. That they're not saying, we can't prove other than he was the guy on the bridge, right? Because that's what some folks were thinking, is that the police could only prove that he was the guy on the bridge and that he may have forcibly took him somewhere. That they couldn't prove that he was the guy that actually committed the crime. I'm not sure where they're getting some dots pointing from. He's the guy on the bridge, but not the guy that committed the crime. I don't see that dot connection, but some people think they can see that. And well, anyways, so I think this says for sure that they think not only was he the guy on the bridge, but he's also the guy that took their lives. You think that this leads to confidence in the case? What do you think, Jaime?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's if charging him or putting more charges on him doesn't tell you more that they have the most confidence in the case that they have, I don't know what will.
Right.
I mean, they have, because honestly, if he's not the guy, man, they'll be losing a lot. They have everything to lose.
Yeah,
That's true.
very true.
What do you think, Blue?
Yeah, I think that there's enough evidence there to say he wasn't just on the bridge. You know, we have known fact that they have the evidence of the bullet casing, and the bullet, not just the casing, but at the site where the bodies were found.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then there's probably something else that they have or know that we don't know yet. So we'll wait until more evidence comes out.
Well, I mean, it's just like in the Bryan Kohberger case, which we will be talking about here briefly, or in a moment. That's what I meant. Not talk about it briefly. We're going to go in depth into it. But you know, just like in that case, you know, everybody looks at the probable cause affidavit and thinks that that's it. There's nothing else. There's a whole huge investigation that goes after the arrest, right? You know, there's the warrants and so much other stuff. We don't know majority of what they know about Richard Allen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So is it possible they found some kind of smoking gun that we don't know about, similar to like Alex Murdaugh when they had the Snapchat video? Nobody knew about that until trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think there's a lot, way more, like you said, that they have against Richard Allen that we know, because we only got in whatever's been leaked or what has been, you know, released on the news and stuff like that. I'm sure there's way more.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the case that just happened here last month. I just saw they arrested a suspect for there was a gentleman found thrown on the highway, off the highway, with a bullet in the back, on his back. You know, he was murdered. They tracked his phone. They saw he was conversating with somebody. They went back, surveyed the area, found some surveillance camera footage of him, and the police were able to. Then, when they found out who it was, because they got a tip that they knew the name of the person that was on the camera, they tracked his phone after they found out who he was, and that phone led him right to where he pulled over the highway and dumped the body with his cell phone data.
Damn.
Who knows if they were able to go back then and be able to go through his cell phone data, because we know he had his phone. He admitted he was looking at the stock market. That means he had internet.
Yeah. So, yeah, he did have his phone. I'm not sure how far back that those things can trace or go back, but you know, that could be one thing why they think or they have been able to put more charges on him, is the fact that they do have those locations on his phone. You know, they may not have had that until after his arrest, and they had actually his phone in their possession. You know, I know that the historical data, which is the like the triangulation stuff, that's not very accurate. But once you get the guy's phone and you know what apps that are on the phone, you can then get a warrant from those apps for their GPS location. Right now, if you're looking at a stock trader, I think that those have to, you know where you're trading from. So you probably do have to give your location there. So the fact that he may not have actually been looking at it, but the fact that he maybe had that app on his phone, I mean, right there, they could probably pin him on his GPS location. I mean, that's what I would go look at.
Yeah, especially because some of these apps, they're still working in the background. They don't, like, just because you're not using them doesn't mean they're on. They're constantly on, tracking all this stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
So that could be the case.
But who knows? I mean, I don't know if they can go that far back. We don't know. But like I said, the investigation, what we have is what they used to arrest him. We don't know what they found at his home. We don't know what they carried out. They were digging in the backyard, and they were looking in the fire pit for evidence, and there's no evidence to show what they found, I think, yet.
Supposedly they dug up something in his backyard, but it was a small dig. Something probably maybe perhaps a thumbnail, maybe thumb drive might fit into that they pulled out of the ground. You know, there was a lot of speculation in the probable cause affidavit and the in the Ron Logan search warrant that law enforcement believed that whoever committed this crime took photos, you know, of the scene. Yeah, and let's go back to when this happened, 2017. Thumb drives, things like that, were probably more common than what they are now. I think so. You know, and if you want to take a picture of something that you don't want getting around, you know, maybe you take it on a different type of phone or something, or camera.
Yeah, and it has the little card on the side that you can put.
Mm-hmm.
It just, and it saves it to that. Then you can transfer that to a thumb drive or flash drive. What are they called?
Yeah, I think it's a little thumb drive.
Yeah, but I wonder what if they're gonna use maybe his confessions on him. That once he confessed to his wife that he didn't know he was being recorded.
Nah, you know you're being recorded.
Yeah, everybody knows.
I think everybody knows, man. Like this.
He didn't know, but you know,
I
know you know.
Well, I mean,
they tell you. They tell you.
He's also been acting kind of weird, so he might use his mental state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For him making those
phone
calls.
The thing is, apparently, those weird actions that he was doing didn't start happening until he confessed to, I think, his wife or his mom. After the first time that he confessed, according to the state or whatnot, that's when he began to like eat his papers and wouldn't eat and throw things and was being disruptive. He had to get tased and all this other stuff. Right now, his attorneys are complaining that they bring him in shackles, right? That they have him chained up around his hands and they shackle his legs. I don't think they understand that he's probably on, the Clinton list of the hospital. I mean, of the jail. You know, they're worried that he's going to vanish or, not vanish, but take himself out, Epstein himself. And so that could mean a lot of things. I mean, he could be, if he's not shackled like that, walking through general public, he can grab at something, grab at a guard's gun or taser or baton or whatever they use, in that prison. And it just could go bad. I mean, he's under watch for being somebody who's unstable if they're willing to take their own, right? And you also have to figure in that apparently he's eating papers. He's, causing issues. He's having to get tased because of his behavior, right? I mean, are you going to just let somebody that's doing those things, who's accused of committing a horrible crime, just walk around like at Sunday school there?
Hell no. Do you think it's an act? Him, because it also goes down to his appearance. I mean, look how he looks a lot more fragile than he did when he went in.
Well, I think that had to do with that didn't start until after he told his wife something. So I think that there's a world out there where maybe perhaps it came out or it slipped or his wife got to him in the moment, and for a brief moment he forgot he was being recorded. And then when he realized that he had, confessed, he began to act out and do crazy stuff. So that way he can use that as a defense as to why he confessed.
Yeah. I mean, there's commissary, but there's no CPS snacks there at the prison that you can get all day out. So of course, everybody does tend to lose weight. The people that do tend to gain weight when they go is because they were crack addicts, meth addicts, and they weren't eating. You know what I mean? They were hooked on something that was, depriving their appetite.
So like somebody with like sunken jaw, like really sunken eyes with some really bushy eyebrows, suddenly gains weight, and while he's waiting for trial, you think that there's a possibility because that person may have been on something?
It can be, yeah.
Makes sense.
They're when you're on doing certain drugs, you lose your appetite. And or it gives you so much energy, just burning your calories like crazy when you're paying what drugs you're using.
And then, some people are saying that it's the Odin situation, guards and Odin patches and stuff. And I get the concern. I think it's a little. I don't know anything about it, right? I don't know anything about this Odin stuff. I've seen some videos of Odin stuff when I've been looking for it, right, because of this case, and I've seen families acting kind of like in a what is it, like live action role play LARP? It looks kind of like that. Like there's kids and stuff, right? Some say that it's a like a religion to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it'd be kind of like, if somebody committed this crime and instead, place these girls as the sign of the cross, does that mean that every Christian is out to get this guy? No. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And if it was like that situation, I believe something would have happened to him already, so he wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
Had access to him that whole time, and it was released that has fear for his life because of Odinism. He should have been pleading at the judge's desk, with the warden, right in the beginning, right when he was arrested, but he hasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like a big show to me sometimes.
Yeah. Jessamy says, dude's off topic. I was on a flight in Boise sitting next to Jack's mom. She showed me a video of Murphy opening his Xmas present. Odd, but she talked. Well, that's good. Jack, I'm assuming that's Jack DeCore's mom. And yeah, I've seen some videos of Murphy and stuff. It's sad, man, to know that, I obviously I have like crap load of dogs that I like dogs. That dog being able to hear everything that occurred that night. I feel bad for the dog too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know here in Texas, we can't wear anything on our uniforms. Yeah. I get it. I understand. But in Indiana, I'm not sure how those rules are or how those things go about, but like I said, if this person would have aligned these bodies like crosses, that doesn't mean that every Christian is going to be out to get this guy. And, they've moved him from one location to several hours away, and they're still complaining about his treatment, right? That they have him looking like Hannibal Lecter. I just, I don't know. I think, go ahead, Blue.
They're not going to put him in the, comfy lounge with some, his favorite sitcom on there with the tea time. He's in a prison.
Right.
Yeah.
They expected to put him in a suite or something?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know about them, but they're defense attorneys. But I've gone to Mexican security prisons, not as a prisoner, but just on tour when I was in criminal justice in school. You only need to be there once, and you never want to go back. Trust me. But everything was like plain. Metal tables, metal chairs, nothing can be moved. Everything was stable. You know what I mean? Like, because inmates would end up trying to hurt themselves with it, or hurt somebody else with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not gonna be a comfortable stay. It's not the Ramada Inn down the street where they had, all the
breakfast,
all the immigrants coming over and laying in the fountain out there because the Motel 6 pool was full.
Yeah, I think the fact that there's talking about it and complaining about it is because of the fact that he's obviously he's innocent until proven guilty. I think that's good. That's why they're doing it. They don't see. I think for them they don't. They feel like he shouldn't be treated as someone that's guilty. In other words.
Well, I mean, it's presumption of innocence, not, we're going to let you free and go. What it means is that they're not going to like do the punishment aspect of what happens. For instance, if this was a DP case, they're not going to execute you, before you're tried and stuff like that. right? Now, there's a lot of rules and stuff that goes into the Constitution, into the law book, because people would say, oh, it's simple as, presumption of innocence. And I'm like, it's a little more complicated than that. Not everybody gets a bail or a bond. Some people, depending on their crime, do not have that right. And it's in there that everybody has that right. Everybody should be presumed innocent, but depending on the nature of the crime and the possibility of somebody fleeing, there's reasons and things that can apply that is okay, and that it's allowed for those rights to be removed. It's not just him. It happens to a lot of people, majority of people that commit crimes like this.
Yeah, they're flight risks. That's why sometimes they don't give them the bonds or the bail.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I just don't see it as something that they're singling him out as. The shackles, I don't think that's something singling him out as, just based on the fact that, the nature of the crime that he's been accused of, and, the possibility of him hurting himself, and the possibility of him, the fact that he'd been acting out as well.
Yeah.
According to them. I don't know. I wasn't there. So I do tend to believe that majority of the time law enforcement is doing the right thing. I do know that there's some cases out there that they didn't. But I do think that because of the checks and balances that there are right now, and because of the technology, it's pretty difficult for somebody to do things that everybody thinks is going on. And especially when you have multiple agencies and state and federal agents looking into things, it makes the opportunity or the chances of something nefarious happen within law enforcement less likely. Now, do some things, fall through the cracks, yeah, but to say that this jail, that jail, and this judge now, and that's not even from that area, that's from a different area, I think it gets to a point where it's too much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's watch this video, and then we'll click on over to, we'll talk about Bryan Kohberger and the news in Moscow, Idaho.
And he was at Allen's hearing today. Bob, what do you make of these proceedings today? An actual Supreme Court appearance in a state before a trial even gets underway?
It's unusual, especially in the middle of a trial, and really getting to that level of the Supreme Court, because this is what they call an original action, or writ of mandamus. Typically, the step is to go either on what they call an interlocutory appeal, which is an appeal that happens while the trial is going on, or they appeal after they're convicted. So to go to this extent, and it was one of the major things that was argued today, especially by Judge Gull's attorneys, with respect to they skipped a step, it shouldn't be here. So yeah, it was very unusual.
If you're a fan of true crime and you scour the internet for everything you can on the Delphi case, you'll see a lot of skeptics. Like, you will see a lot of people who say, I think they got the wrong guy. But, the internet's one thing. So what is your read on this case?
Well, when the probable cause affidavit dropped, I was one of those out there with a pretty loud voice in terms of the podcast that felt it was a very weak probable cause affidavit, because it basically amounted to mere presence and then, basically a shell casing that had not discharged through the weapon. And that was basically it, aside from 4 witnesses who all gave a different description. And that goes to just exactly what the issue is with eyewitnesses. They're just.
All right. So let's kind of talk about this. Now, first and foremost, in this case here, I think there's definitely more question and cloud versus the Bryan Kohberger case. I think that one is a lot clearer. I think there's a clear light at the end of that tunnel, and that tunnel's going straight. You know what I mean? That's not winding at all. In this case here, there's some interesting aspect to it. For me, it's the Fields guy, the guy that said that he was out there, he spit on one of the girls. He has some things that he has said that to me seems kind of weird. Right? Do you guys agree that this was a weak probable cause affidavit?
I think so. I really do. I think not per se weak, I guess, but the details. It wasn't as much detail as it was with Bryan Kohberger. And I also think, like how you said, for him to be saying stuff that a lot of people didn't know at that time, it says a lot.
Yeah. What about you, Blue? What about you, Blue? I was going to say something, but what do you think?
I think in the beginning it did seem a little weak, because they were going off, the evidence of him being there. But then, like I said, the eyewitnesses, they were all 4 different. Eyewitnesses' statements are always going to be off. That's one thing that's been known forever.
I agree.
It got stronger, though, when they got a hold of his gun and they were run, the ballistic chamber analysis and match it to the bullet that was under the bodies.
They matched it to what?
So supposedly, remember what we talked about this before, where that bullet that they found was unspent,
right?
And it was cocked through the gun. It was shot out through the ejector, right?
Yeah, it wasn't shot out, but
extraction marks, right?
Yeah, the extraction marks.
Yeah, it was extracted
to that gun, and supposedly that is something new that they can.
Right. Yeah, I thought you said that they matched the bullet holes under the bodies. I'm like, what?
No.
That's why I had to ask you again. No, I agree with you, man. Here's the thing about the eyewitness testimony: is you have, first and foremost, you have Richard Allen putting himself on the scene, and you have him seeing girls come across him as he enters the trail. These girls, although maybe vary at what the description of the guy was, but they all remember seeing a guy come in. Right now, why that's important is they basically put themselves there. They said, all right, they both crossed there. Now, how do we know that the timing of this was accurate? Well, at 1:26, those girls had taken a photo on a bench there on the trail. And then after they took that photo, they walked out towards the exit. Now, all of them agree, and there's a photo time-stamped as well of that photo was taken there. So if Richard Allen, initially stated that he got there at 1:30, he stated that he saw multiple girls walking in or out of the trail as he was walking in. These girls stated that it was after 1:30 or 1:26, and they have a picture proving it was after 1:26 that they saw somebody coming in matching the description to a certain extent of the person that they ended up seeing on the bridge. So you can kind of say that, all right, we can deduce that it was Richard Allen at that time. Now, based on what he said that he had done, walking to the bridge, looking at the fish, and then coming back out and sitting on a bench for a couple of hours before going home, doesn't make sense. Because, well, one, there were other people that had gotten on the trail and nobody saw him sitting on the bench. Nobody saw him after, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, but nobody saw the guy after he walked into the trail at 1:26. There was another witness that's out there that says that they saw somebody on the bridge before they saw Libby and Abby go that direction. There's been some debate as, did that person describe Richard Allen or not? So let's give that the benefit of the doubt and say that we don't know, right? But he did say that he got there, and based on the timing in which how long it would have taken him to walk from the entrance of the trail to get to where the trail ended and on the bridge, it would have taken, I believe it was like 11 minutes, and that was walking real fast. And so, the lady had gotten there at 11:49 or 46. He would have been there at 11:41. So he would have had to have somehow gotten there, look at the fish, left that area, past that entrance, that Myers entrance where she walked into, within that amount of time. And it just doesn't make any sense. So to me, the timeline adds up that he was the guy that was on the bridge. The spent round does make sense. I think it can be kind of explained to a certain extent. I don't know how strong it is, but if you're just going off the PCA, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasonable doubt. But there's more evidence than that, I think, at least.
Yeah, definitely. They're not gonna just, hope that they show, or not the show, but the bullet itself is gonna, be the smoking gun. I'm sure
No,
there's
I
a
don't
lot
think it
more.
is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more evidence. Maybe even witnesses.
Yeah, there could be another witness that we don't know about, or maybe somebody has come forward after Richard Allen's arrest saying, "Hey, he said some things before that were weird, that didn't make sense, and now that he's been arrested, they make sense. This is what he had said. This is what he did. This, whatever the case may be." All right. So I don't know which way it's going to go when it comes to Richard Allen. Like I said, this one is definitely a lot more cloudy, and that trail is a lot more windy. You know what I mean? Than Bryan Kohberger's case, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Let's finish this.
Just not reliable. So I just felt that it was a weak PCA. That didn't mean that the state wasn't going to be able to produce more evidence, because, as we know, the police investigation, law enforcement investigation continues long after the arrest takes place. So I think that they assumed that they'd get more. Whether or not they did, I don't know. But when you look at the strength of, say, Kohberger's PCA in comparison to the Delphi, I was of the mindset they might have gotten the wrong guy here. And for justice for the girls, we need the right guy.
You see, I don't know if you can say from the PCA that he's the wrong guy. There's nothing in the PCA that exonerates Richard Allen. Do you guys think there is?
No, I guess it's pretty much like a blueprint, right? That's all it is.
It's the bare minimum evidence against him, and it's one-sided. It's from the prosecution side, so the defense has nothing to say in it. So I don't see anything that is exonerating of Richard Allen there.
That I can think of, no. Not at all.
So I don't understand where the thought comes that he's the wrong guy, right? I can look at the probable cause affidavit and say, hey, I don't think this is enough for him to be the guy, right? Or even, I don't think this is enough to, have an acquittal or exonerate him. Me personally, like I said, I just think it's, and he has a right to his opinion. I just think that there's nothing there that says they have the wrong guy. Not yet. Not with the PCA. Now, the stuff that Richard Allen's attorneys dropped, that 137 pages or whatever, that's different, right? But the PCA doesn't say they have the wrong guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a tug on the heartstrings when you think about these families, wanting justice and not wanting injustice either, right? But when it comes to Richard Allen, it took 5 years to arrest him. He's been incarcerated for 2 years, all sorts of, transformations in his body and his mental health and all the rest. And it feels like, and again, I don't know what the case has or what the state has in terms of a case, but it feels like the strongest evidence they might have are these phone confessions when he's talking to his family. But if you've got mental health issues and you're repeating with cadence what the prosecutors might have on you, it could sound like a confession. I always go back to my cousin Vinny, and I wonder if that's the wrong thing to think at this point, that maybe this is just not strong, what they've got on the phone records.
Yeah, and the only way that we'll know is when we hear it and when it gets vetted, because of everything you said. Essentially, we've got to
now,
that doesn't make sense to me, man. He's like, "Hey, honey, how you doing? How's our daughter going? Good. Oh yeah, I killed the girls. I mean, I didn't mean to say that. They asked me that question like 1,000 times. I accidentally repeated it. BS."
Yeah. No, I agree. And the other thing is too, like, I don't understand the comparison to movies. Right. Unless it's like a true story event, but like my cousin Vinny isn't real. Like, that didn't happen. There isn't a case out there where somebody got the posi traction ride on the posi traction ride on a
that we
car.
know of.
Point it out, and let me know where this video got the or this movie got their inspiration from. It's not real. So, to me, I prefer to live in reality. Some people will say, according to CSI, you can get fingerprints off of blood in the tree. I don't know if that's true or not. But I wouldn't take the word of a TV show. Is all I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just my little pet peeve is when people kind of look at movies and say, in that one movie, this happened because of this.
So you're telling me Big Brother's not a real house? Dang it!
Oh man, that
That's a
one's
TV
real
show.
as can be, man. That's reality TV.
That's what
Home.
it says that in the word, in the title.
In custody, but he's also in segregation 23 hours a day. He simply is not going to be of the same mindset that a normal person that's out and about every day will be in because of the isolation. On top of that, look, I've been in prisons for 20 years of my legal career defending people, and they are not happy places. And when you have a pretrial detainee like Richard Allen, which means he has not been convicted in a place where there's only convicted people, there is no presumption of innocence from either the inmates or the guards. So people need to understand, if they don't think that guards try to push pretrial detainees into confessing to crimes, it happens all the time. So we just have to hear it. We have to hear context. We have to hear what he sounds like, and we'll find out where it is from there. And the defense is going to be up to the challenge. And they know it's an issue, and they're going to address it the best they can.
It is, of course, part of why this is so fascinating. A, we want to know what happened. And then B, we want to know what they really have. And sometimes we just have to be patient. Bob Mata, thank you. So appreciate your wisdom.
You think it happens all the time, guys? That guards are forcing confessions?
I mean, maybe not for me. It's like maybe not guards itself, but like I've seen a bunch of what's it called, interrogations where people, admit or they take responsibility for a crime they didn't do, which is super weird. But I mean, I guess the pressure that the police or the interrogators put on them just kind of makes them feel like if I just admit to this, it will be over.
Mm-hmm. I don't get the angle of forcing somebody who's already been convicted of a crime to confess. I don't understand the motive there. Like you said, everybody that's there has been convicted.
Yeah.
So why are they forcing people to confess to things that they've been convicted to already?
I mean, this is something that they're trying to be spiteful. Maybe they know the family. And they're like, hey, just confess. Let's get this over them. Get the trial over. But
yeah,
I mean, most of the time, in a lot of these cases, like the guards normally rotate sometimes. I don't even know if they deal with the same inmates. Some do, some don't.
I don't know. And like I said, I'm not sure, how he's being treated or not, or if it's good or bad. I just don't think that it's this horrible thing that they're trying to make it out to be, because he talks about the guards and him being in a place he doesn't belong. If they go and put him in a county jail, how big is Delphi again? Like 3,000 people. How big was County Carroll? Not very big. And I assure you that, the big prison probably pays more than the county jail does. So you probably have more of those that are willing to work in the jail system or who want to work in the jail system be at the corrections facility that's larger. So you're probably looking at an understaffed area, or at least a place that's barely staffed or minimally staffed to the standard. It's a very small place, small location, right? And so having to have somebody on 24-hour watch requires additional employees. The jail system or jailers are shorthanded across the board. So you're going to put a smaller jail in a more difficult predicament, where you can put them in a bigger place where they can actually watch him in the manner that they have, where they actually have employees who are designated for watching, those that want to cause harm to themselves. Because if he ends up Epsteining himself in a county jail, the thing is going to be like, oh, why didn't they have guards and 24-hour surveillance?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think, Blue? You're pretty quiet.
No. I was gonna say most of the time when they're on that kind of watch, they're put like in padded rooms. Sometimes it depends on how severe they are. If he's showing signs that he's gonna harm himself, I know in some of the places they strip you all the way down, man. No clothes, throw you butt ass naked into a padded room. No bed, nothing you can hurt yourself on. Nothing you can jump on to hurt yourself. People can still hurt themselves, but it take a lot of tries to off yourself that way. I mean, it'd be like running straight into a wall, trying to snap your neck kind of deal, because there's nothing else in there for you to hurt yourself with.
Oh yeah, dude. I've seen people get hogtied because they wanted to hurt themselves, and to prevent them from doing so. And it wasn't the first move. The first move was like, hey, quit it, stop it, and then it was we're going to restrain you. They restrained this person to the bars, and this was in a holding facility. I think they've got arrested for like PI or DWI, something like that. I don't recall. It wasn't my arrest, but this person was like just going crazy in the cell, right? And she they ended up handcuffing her, and she started to bang her head like on the bars and on the walls and stuff. And so they ended up hitting her with the water. They got this water thing, and they're trying to hit her with the water to get her calmed down. She didn't care. Was going at it, throwing herself against the wall. So at the end, they ended up handcuffing her, hands behind her back, cuffed her legs together, and then cuff the cuffs together. So she was basically hogtied to prevent herself from doing more harm to herself. You know what I mean? So, things happen. People act in certain ways. We're not privileged to the way, he's acting. He very well could be a model citizen, but he could also be a pretty crazy guy, I guess. I don't know. We don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody here knows him personally.
Yeah. I mean, that's only way they can find that is through the prison records, hospital records, the psych records. And even at that, some of that is only privileged information.
Yeah. You're right, man. I mean, there's only so much they can look into, especially medically. But, to me, does it change the way I think or feel about Richard Allen in this case? Not really. All the stuff that's came out, I'm still probably thinking that he is involved. Me personally, I think he's involved. I don't know if there was somebody else involved with him. I think that there's a possibility there. Ellis Fields just kind of sticks out to me a little bit. But I do think that he put himself there. Where do you guys feel as far as, confidence level on this case? You think that more than likely Indiana got their guy, or do you think that there's a lot of reasonable doubt out there?
I think by charging him with the kidnapping, I think that shows a lot of confidence in the case by the state. I'm at probably like 70-30 in this case. 70 that he's directly involved with it, then 30 that he's not.
What about that somebody else is helping him or somebody else was involved? Do you think that, what's the likelihood there for you?
Oh man, it's small, but there's always that possibility. Especially because when you come down to it, like it's it'll be hard for a single person to control two other people.
Yeah.
At least that's what I would think. But at the same time, like having more people gives you that risk of getting caught easier.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but by the sounds of it, especially like the way they made Ellis Field sound, these guys weren't Bryan Kohberger when it comes to intelligence. You know what I mean? So there's going to be probably a lot of mistakes made. The supposed F thing on the tree. Some say that, and they've been able to kind of test that it could be a handprint, right? And if that ends up being the case, and that was the hand of the actor in that situation, then you can probably deduce that there was a lot of mistakes made if he's got his hand full blood and puts it on the tree there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So interesting stuff, man. What about you, Blue? Where do you sit on him?
I can never sit on him because he's in prison, but I'm just
you're freaking
DP by sitting, you know, that's different world, but okay.
Different world.
That didn't sound right at all, man.
I know. I thought about it after I said, like, dang it. But no,
perfect.
You got me distracted again. Did he do it? I think there's a lot of evidence that he was there. To me, the bullet casing, or the bullet, is some big evidence. I think his confession is going to be something that's going to be hard for his defense to try to get around.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the fact of, the information what his defense team put out about him, not acting alone and look at these other people. It sounds interesting, but it also, that would have to come up to the detective work that they had to do.
Right.
They would have to see what kind of footprints lead, because remember these girls were marched across the river, and if any of us know that go fishing, when you walk across the river, when you start getting 10 like a couple feet away from the river, you start sinking in mud. So there'd be more than one set of footprints walking across that river.
Right, and you bring up
3 sets, so or there's 5 sets,
right.
Only the detective would know that.
Right, and that you bring up a good point. Now, to a certain extent, maybe because there were, people searching the area as well. But if they're in that spot, in that area where they found footprints, and they can determine that, these were Abby and Libby, and this was the third actor. What do you think they're thinking when it's like a size 8? Because I think that's what he wears, like a 7 or an 8.
That's more definitive that it could be him.
Right. But like, how do you think they're going up to like Ron Logan and thinking that he committed this crime when he's like a 6'2" guy with probably a lot bigger foot than size 8?
Yeah, I don't think they found the tracks. I don't know.
It's like, this guy must shop at Children's Place.
He fit his feet into these things so he could throw off the law enforcement. That's going to be the theory, right? Well, I like I said, we don't know all the evidence there to say that he's 100%, one way or not. I myself, as far as his involvement, I think probably about 80%. I'm about 80% there. As far as somebody else being involved as well, I think that there's probably, man, I'm 50-50 on that one, dude. To be honest with you, with what Elvis Field said, some of the things that he described, the antlers or the horns. Yeah. Even though that those things didn't really look like horns, who's to say that those things didn't, those small twigs didn't move? They were clearly placed there because they were on top of her hair, not her hair underneath of it. So they were placed on top of it, on top of her hair. So to me, I think somebody purposefully put something there. Now, as far as why they may have not looked like horns at the time they found the bodies, we got to remember how long were the bodies out there in the open. I mean, there's a good possibility that some of those sticks moved, changed locations, twisted, fell over, if it's windy or anything like that, or if there's, critters. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember there was a theory that the person that probably committed this owned a cat because it was cat hairs, but then in some of the evidence video pictures, you see a cat roaming around. So I was like, that's where the cat hairs could have came from.
Yeah. I bet you it probably started off from somebody claiming to be a psychic, and they probably saw the picture of the cat in one of the pictures, and they're like, there's an orange cat involved. Like, that's where I think. And nothing against anybody who's psychic. I don't know if it's real or not. I feel like I could probably trick people into thinking that I'm psychic because I'm a little bit sensitive to details about folks and things, and I can I can come up with stuff. Like, for instance, there was the those individuals who I think it was out in Florida. They all got killed. They found one in the trunk. A couple of kids. They were all part of the same thing. They were out burglarizing, and they had some sort of quarrel. And they found one in a trash can, I believe, and another one in the trunk of the car, and another one outside on the middle of the street or on the side of the street. And they hadn't said anything about where they located the third girl, right? But they had given enough information that I was able to say. I think they said that they had to get a warrant, and that's when they discovered, the third body. And so I was like, all right, these are all going to be, together. She's probably got shot, and she's probably in the trunk, because the reason why is because they needed a warrant. If she was in the back seat, they wouldn't need a warrant. They can open the door based on what they see. So I even said it. I was like, I guarantee you guys, shot in the trunk. Now, just with that, I could have gone out there and I said this, and the next day it was confirmed that was what it was. I could have gone out there and said, I see a dark space. I see, confined place. It looks like this person's in a small area. I'm seeing an automobile, probably in the trunk. And I think I probably would have gotten 1,000 subscribers thinking I was psychic. Probably should have done that.
Right.
I messed up. I should have done that. Jesus, dang it. All right. Well, it is what it is. Let's just transition over a little bit. Let's talk about Bryan Kohberger. There's been some documents dropped here of recent, and let's kind of go through them. We're going to start off first with the let me share this. The public order of a public order disclosure of IgG information. It says here on October 25th, the court issued an order addressing IgG DNA and an order for in-camera review that addressed the state's motion to prevent disclosure of the investigative genetic genealogy information to the defense, and the defense motion to compel discovery of all information pertaining to the IgG investigation. On November 30th, 2023, the state submitted to the court in camera all IgG information pertaining to the state's investigation from both the FBI and a private laboratory. The court has now completed its review on the information provided by the state and the orders the state to discover to the defense a portion of the IgG information. A specific material to be provided is set forth in a sealed order protected by privacy of the IgG information, including individuals of the family tree. So he's going to get some information. It don't sound like it's going to be a lot. It's probably just going to be the names that pointed towards him.
Yeah, I think they're going to get whatever we already know.
I mean, does it matter? To be honest with you, like, it's his DNA that was swabbed that matched to the DNA that was on the knife sheath. Mm-hmm. And the evidence that they used to get that warrant for the swab was his phone activity, his DNA that they picked up from pulling trash out of his parents' house, mm-hmm. and his prior knowledge of his criminal knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Those were things that that's all you need for the warrant. There wasn't anything on there of an IgG in the warrants. You know what I mean? There was nothing there. So it doesn't matter. Throw it out. It's not even being used. You know what I mean? It's like having Blue take a lie detector test, right? And let's just say Blue did something to a guy named Jeff, and
my name is Jeff.
Blue takes care of him, right? And he beats him up or whatever. But Blue gets charged, and he goes and takes a lie detector test, and he fails it, right? And so based on that, they start looking into him more, and they developed evidence against him. Now, Blue looks guilty as hell. So Blue's attorney then says, you know what we're going to do, guys? Remember that lie detector test you failed? We're going to go ahead and bring that into evidence. And we're going to hope that that somehow shows that you're innocent. Does that make sense to you, Blue?
Yeah.
It does?
No, I'm just joking with you. Sorry, I was reading the comments. I was trying to put them up there.
So you don't know.
No.
So what I'm saying is, if somebody, if you did something and you took a lie detector test and that lie detector test proved that you were lying, how do you see the benefit of having that information entered on your behalf as something that's going to show you're innocent?
I think probably more that I'm guilty if I'm lying, so it would be no benefit.
Hold on.
Okay.
Exactly. There's no benefit. It's a delay tactic. Like the real micro cases, it's just another delay tactic. Like they're gonna get what's already there. It doesn't even matter. Put the IgG in, right? Let's enter it into evidence. And then you can say, hey, this IgG information, they never tested Bryan Kohberger's DNA to the DNA on the sheet, so it's inadmissible. Let's get it thrown out. So then they get it thrown out. You're freaking back at square one.
Yeah,
you're not even using it.
This is just like, let's buy more time. Let's let the case get less popular. Let's let the case die down a little bit, because everything that's been said online, or everything that people can believe that are in the jury pool, they're gonna remember all the negative stuff that's said. And I think if they're worried about that, then they just maybe just do the case when push it 6 more months back, and that's it. And let some time go past, because once more cases come out or more things happen, people forget of what look at us with the Delphi case. We've been investigating the other cases. There's some of the facts from the Delphi case I don't remember 100%, but you gave me 6 months ago, I would remember everything.
True. That's true. That's 100%. Mark says the defense is looking for a flaw in the IgG process to toss out the DNA on a technicality. The thing is, and I actually had a conversation with Gabriela Vargas, the defense's own witness. And during our conversation, I got her to explain that the STR profile, which is the one that was used to compare Bryan Kohberger's DNA on, from his cheek, was developed first, and that STR profile is required for an IgG, search to begin. Right? They can't create one. They can't go and do one without the STR. So, as far as fruit of the poisonous tree, you can only throw out something to the point where something illegal occurred. So if the STR profile occurred first, and then the IgG profile was created second, even if there's a mix-up, you can only go back to the point where the IgG was created, which happened after the STR, which is not connected to the DNA that they removed or they pulled from Bryan Kohberger's cheek. So it can't be thrown out. There's no technicality that'll throw it out. I believe the judge said that the argument was futile, meaning it was pointless, but he's going to give them their day in court.
Yeah.
So that's my explanation for it. I hope that makes sense. I've asked attorneys about it, and they have stated that I am correct. So let's look at the next one. It's futile. I need to get a thing that says it's futile.
There's a movie that the judge says it, or maybe it's a famous actor, but it's pretty cool.
You know, it's gonna be funny because like Bryan Kohberger is asking again for the judge to reconsider, you know, the indictment for a second time. I think he's just gonna go in and say nope, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's gonna happen. I think they're just doing it to add, to prolong it. Pretty much. I think they're gonna bring up everything they can to prolong it. I think that's what I feel like.
They already prolonged it so far. Fortunately, the house was demolished. Hopefully, whatever set they built, whatever the FBI took, is good enough to give a good eyewitness, stance of what the noise sounds could have been inside the house.
Right. Robin says, what about the sheath first seen from the door? It was under Maddie and the comforter. So I think, well, first and foremost, the probable cause affidavit was written very poorly. So what it says is that the sheath was on the right side of Maddie when viewed from the door, meaning that when you're looking at Maddie, it was on her right side when you're looking at her from the door, not that you could see the sheath from the door. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of where that comes in. It's not necessarily that they were able to see it, and which is why others had to be told about it, right? Because the argument was, well, why can't anybody else see it from the door? It's not that you could see it from the door. It was located on her side from the view of the door, on the right side of Maddie from the view of the door. Right. So that tells me that she's probably facing either on her side or, you know what I mean? If she's facing on her side, then you can't determine right side or left side based on her on her side or, something to that effect. Now let's, and that has nothing to do with the IgG. Collecting the DNA off of the sheath has nothing to do with the IgG. Yeah. I don't know if she was on her back, stomach, or side. No idea. Whatsoever.
All right, so you would have to see and it all varies. You have to just see the reports later, like even if somebody got multiple wounds to the chest, if they turned over because they were trying to get up or something, they can be facing down. So it just all varies. There's no information on that yet that I know of.
Right. All right, so this is the motion to unseal defendant's motion to reconsider orders denying motions to dismiss the indictment and an alternative for permission to appeal from interlocutory orders. So, let's read this real quick. It says here, Bryan Kohberger by and through his attorney, public defender, moves the court for an order to unseal the defendant's motion to reconsider orders. So they want to unseal. Remember when they said that it was based off of the indictment and all these other things? What they want out there is that one person, it's not the PCA, it's Exhibit A. They sealed the PCA right away. We haven't seen. Probable cause affidavit on Bryan Kohberger's been out. I'll pull it up here in a little bit. Exhibit A is that's something different, but the probable cause affidavit is up and going. It's, in fact, real quick, it's the first one I think that's out here. And thank you for your support, the Real Micro K, with your 199 super chat. Probable cause affidavit right here.
And that is ET go home.
So that Exhibit A is the statement, but this is the probable cause affidavit.
Let me minimize that so you can see. There you go.
You can tell because at the end of it, it says that they have probable cause for his arrest, and it's signed by the judge. So Exhibit A is probably just because they use this information over and over again. Where is it at? Because this is the probable cause order. Then you have your arrest warrant underneath. They do things differently in Idaho, so I don't know if they call your probable cause affidavit Exhibit A or Exhibit Affidavit, because it is considered an affidavit. And this is the statement from Brett Payne. I guess it's just a statement from Brett Payne. You're probably right then. But this is what they use on the probable cause affidavit to arrest him. This is the statement from the detective who filed the charges against Bryan Kohberger. So this is basically the information that they use in the probable cause affidavit. All right. Now, if this was somebody that was not the lead detective, right? If this was just some random guy, or, you know, the guy that showed up on scene first, then yeah, it'd probably be considered something different on its own. But we've seen this information copied and pasted on several affidavits. This is the probable cause affidavit. Let's go back. So I know that because it's been said in court that there was at least, I think, one person on the jury said that they wanted more information. I think that's what they want to get out here, is that there is, you know, that's the reason why they want to unseal this. You know, they try to bring that up in court and the judge said, no, remember, we're not going to bring that up. Do you guys think that that's what they're trying to unseal?
Sorry. I don't think so.
You don't think it's that? What do you think they're trying to unseal?
I think they're trying to get more of the information from the FBI to get something to. I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're trying to do. That was my guess.
I don't know, but I know they want to unseal stuff, but they want to keep some stuff sealed. I don't know if that's true. Is that true?
Yeah, that's been the newest thing, and we'll talk about that one. But they want this one unsealed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's because that somebody had asked for more clarity. They wanted more information. And they're trying to use that as a reason as well. And, you know, they try to bring it up in court already. The thing is, the statute, it's not it's not beyond reasonable doubt in this portion of trial. It's just probable cause, which is like the preponderance of evidence, meaning that more than likely this guy committed this crime, right? So it doesn't say that he's guilty. That's not saying that it's him. It's just saying there's enough evidence to go to court. And once that was explained to the juror, they said, all right, it doesn't, you know, we want to say that there's enough. Here's your indictment. Let's go forward. And now Kohberger's attorneys are saying, like, back in 1880, that there were for grand jury, the bar was reasonable doubt, beyond reasonable doubt. And so they're saying, because this person asked for more information, and because, you know, the Idaho Supreme Court or Constitution says that it's beyond reasonable doubt, then this should be thrown out and we should get a preliminary hearing. That's basically their entire argument, that they want this to be unsealed out, in my opinion, from what I understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's my understanding too, from them trying to go back to the 1880 law that everybody's saying is ridiculous, but it's there.
Yeah, but there's other precedent that's out there since that 1880 law that shows that the standard for grand jury indictment isn't beyond reasonable doubt. There's been several cases since that time. I don't think this is a strong move. Plus, this isn't a move that says he's innocent either. This is just something that's saying, you know, that somebody wanted more information. They're trying to get him on a technicality. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, the PCA probably is sealed, but that's the majority of what's in the PCA. Like, the other stuff that's in the PCA is like on this day. Bryan Kohberger was fourth on this day, and then there's the sealed, and there's a bunch of other crap. But for the most part, yeah, that's probably going to be the majority of his stuff because it's coming from the investigative, the lead detective. So, yeah, you're probably right. Anyhow, so back to this. Let's pull this off. So, damn it, Blue, you freaking got me all confused. Just star him, buddy, and then we'll come back to the comments afterwards.
Alrighty.
Yeah, just star what you want to put out there. Where was that?
You were talking about the 1880 law.
Oh, I know that. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the argument there is where I was at. The argument there hasn't been an argument that says he's innocent. If you look at Richard Allen's defense team, they have an argument that says he's innocent. You know, they are saying that it's not just all on a technicality. Everything for Bryan Kohberger is him trying to get off on a technicality. You know what I mean?
So. Yeah. And even with that alibi, it doesn't help neither. Everything that's going on is not helping, and they're not coming up with anything to, like you said, show that he wasn't there and he's not the guy.
Yeah. You know what? I think I know. So, you know how that probable cause affidavit was like 19 pages? So when you have a probable cause, or that affidavit, Exhibit A, was 19 pages. When you have a probable cause affidavit, you guys have to forgive me. This has been like almost 15 years, if not longer now, that I've been in law enforcement. But you only have, like on the paperwork, there's only so much space you have to put in your information. So 9 times out of 10, when you have something like this, you'll say, see Exhibit A, and then you'll create a document, title it Exhibit A, and put your information from your probable cause affidavit in there. That's exactly what this is. Took me a little bit to remember, but I got it. I remember now. So the part of the affidavit that we don't know is going to be all the seals and the judge stamped it, and Bryan Kohberger's personal information. It'll also have, the elements of the crime. That might be on the arrest warrant where it says intentionally, knowingly committed this crime. Like I said, it's been like 15 years, y'all. But yeah, what that is on the probable cause affidavit, because the probable cause affidavit in well, this isn't in Texas either, but in Texas, it's like one form, and it's, and at the bottom of that one form, the judge has to stamp it. Right. So you can't add like pages to that one form. You can just put, see Exhibit A, and then you attach that to your affidavit, which is why this is also listed as an affidavit. Got it. I remember. It took me a while. Apologize, y'all. So it says here, Kohberger sought sealing his filings solely based on email communication with the Latah County Prosecutor's Office, stating they wanted filings sealed. The deadline for Mr. Kohberger's motion was imminent. Thus, in an abundance of caution, the defense filed the motion to seal. Counsel for Mr. Kohberger informed the Latah County's prosecution office that the motion to unseal was forthcoming. Mr. Kohberger moves the court to unseal the proceedings and filings on the basis that these filings and proceedings are not covered in the ICR 32. Mr. Kohberger acknowledges the right of the public to be fully informed of the issues. But yet they come back, they want to seal some other stuff. Just kind of curious. Mr. Kohberger has a right for the rule to apply as it is written, rather than to disadvantage him with the items remaining sealed that are not within the scope of ICR 32. I don't have a problem with this being unsealed. Do you have a problem with this being unsealed?
No, and neither do they. But the ones that are sticking out are the ones that do want to keep sealed.
Yeah.
Because in some sort of way that might hurt, their side.
Right. Well, they're saying that there's nothing that's going to hurt Kohberger by unsealing it. Now, I think they're trying to give the perception that the prosecution wants to keep it sealed because they're hiding something.
Yeah, I see that too. It's like the opposite of what's happening with Richard Allen.
Yeah.
You know, they want to put everything out there and see if they can, put some doubt in people's minds.
Yeah, you're right. And like I said, it's probably not something that's going to be crazy. Like I said, I truly think that what's in there is, or what they want out is, that one person wanted more information before they would, sign the indictment. And when they were explained to the standard for, grand jury indictment, it didn't jive with 1880 Idaho constitutional law. And they feel that they should get it dismissed based on those things, and maybe, go to a preliminary hearing. I guess I get the tactic. I mean, that's what I'm thinking the tactic is. Well, Daniel, do you have the clip of Kaylee's parents where they say she was unalienable? Unalienable. I don't even think I've heard that. I'm not sure. I haven't even heard that clip. But so this is the order of sealing defendant's reply to the state's objection to defendant's motion for interlocutory. And it says, hereby order the defendant reply to the state's objection to the defendant's motion to reconsider, orders denying motions to dismiss indictment, and in the alternative, permission to appeal from the interlocutory orders, and stay of proceedings shall be sealed. So they want that sealed. They want part of it sealed. Right. And there's going to be a court hearing, I think, on the 26th. It may be the 24th. It's one of those two. I think it's the 26th.
Yeah, I heard the 26th.
Yeah.
And the judge is going to decide on whether he's going to allow Kohberger to, I guess, appeal or move on forward. And it sounds like they're moving on forward. It appears that they're going to be going to. It sounds like they're going to court in the summer. I saw earlier in the live chat, people were asking, which case is going to go first to court, Richard Allen or Bryan Kohberger. I think it's going to be Bryan Kohberger. I think it's going to be this summer. What do you guys think? Where do you guys sit on that?
I think it's going to be Richard Allen, man. I honestly
You think?
Yeah, I do. I don't know why. I think there's more happening with the with the motions with Bryan Kohberger than there is with
So you think it is? So you think that Bryan Kohberger's is going to get pushed back more?
I think so. I think the only way the only way I think Richard Allen's case can be pushed back if they kick out the lawyers again.
Yeah, but they said if the lawyers are reinstated, they were going to do 70 days to trial. So
They were asking for that, but they got denied that.
Yeah,
that's been denied. Yeah, he got his attorneys with the notice of saying, hey, they still might not be on your team. There's a chance that they can still be kicked out. Tim says the whole preliminary hearing thing is to get the prosecution to shoot their wad prematurely and possibly to intimidate potential witnesses at trial. I would agree 100% with this statement.
Not me. I never. Anyways,
do you agree that they're hoping that the prosecution prematurely evacuates? I mean,
I never have, so
that's not what we heard.
Damn it! Time to make fun.
So it's Gary, man. Gary's the one that's telling these lies.
Gary's telling the lies. That's funny. What do you call it? I don't know, man. I think he's right. It's a tactic to get an idea of how the prosecution is planning to attack Kohberger in trial. It's a good tactic now that you think about it.
I mean, I know she's gonna do her best to poke holes in all the things that they have. The prosecution has. But at the same time, it kind of like you said earlier, is like they still haven't really put out a real alibi or what his story is. Something. All we're getting is like, oh, they're gonna try to poke holes in the state's case and see if we can get off like that.
Mhm.
You know,
I mean, his
It's weird.
alibi was he was driving around, right? He was just driving around in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Not
In-
listening to music, not
By himself and not saying which direction he went.
yeah.
That's gonna hurt a lot, man.
I mean, the only person that can explain that is him. He's
Mhm.
going to have to go up on trial, like on the stand, to explain it, because his lawyer isn't going to be able to say, "Oh, I think Bryan Kohberger was driving this direction," or Bryan Kohberger was doing that. No, that's not how it works. He's going to have to get up there and say where he was, and if he chooses not to, during closing arguments or during trial, the state's going to allude that he was out, at the house committing the murders during that time.
Even during cross-examination, it's going to be simple for him to be. It's like, Mr. Goldberg, you're driving around in the city or town. I'm not sure. It's a small place, probably a town, right? Where these murders were conducted. Is this your car caught on camera? Is this your car here caught on camera? I'm pretty sure they have video footage of it somewhere.
Well, he agreed he was driving around, so that tells me they have him. It's probably in Pullman, right? Those cameras there, they are better. The traffic cameras are better than what you get from a Ring camera. The technology is better. They can read license plates at night, so they probably have him driving around in Pullman. They have him coming back at 5:00, and they probably have him leaving at that 2:40 something, and that's where they got him. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why didn't they arrest him sooner? In my opinion, they didn't find out till December 19th of who he was because he took that long drive around. They probably looked at the cameras going into Pullman shortly after the murders occurred. And since he took an hour and some odd minutes to get there, they had thousands of tips and thousands of city cameras to look into. They moved on to the next one.
Yeah,
And
not just city, like personal cameras, Ring cameras, and also like we all started off with the gas station camera, remember? But the gas station, everybody's like, that was a horrible view. That was a horrible picture that had a reflection of somebody's phone on it. I'm pretty sure the camera view was more clear, and that's the evidence the police have that we don't.
Yeah, no, that's definitely evidence of something. I don't know how clear it is, but like I said, they definitely got his license plate. Like I said, it's probably in Pullman. After the IGG came back on December 19th with his name, they probably went and looked into Pullman, saying, "Hey, he had to have gone back home somehow at some time." So they expanded the search on the cameras, and sure enough, 5:30 something, there he pulls in. White Elantra, no front license plate. And now you can see the back license plate because you're on security camera or on traffic cameras that can read the license plate. If they didn't have that, I don't know if he admits that he was out driving around.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a lot of footage because he's admitting to being out there, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I went to the store and I came back." Like, I don't think that's true, sir.
He does like the shopping in Idaho. I don't know how much shopping you'll be doing between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. in Idaho during the November nights when it's cold.
Right. Who knows, man? He'll come up with something, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, it's like my meth dealer only sells from 3 to 5. That's how many hours I can go.
He's a part-time meth dealer.
That was a joke and not a true fact. Okay, guys, that was a joke.
It was a joke. Wait, you know what? Real quick, hold on, guys. We can't go any further until now. We can't. This is a complete theory, our opinion, and speculation. Bryan Kohberger is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Oh yeah, we're not turning the chat into members only yet. That's gonna be. Oh, that would have been today. That is from Friday. We got to do a members only show here pretty soon.
We forgot. Sorry.
Yeah. Our bad.
Oh,
But
we got you.
Disclaimer, yes. NBC, ABC, whichever one it was. Disclaimer's right there. Okay, guys, we have it this time.
Yeah, we got it. We got it. You know, I just, like I said, there's in the Richard Allen case, that road is windy. There's a fog. You know, it's you can kind of see the light, but you know, you think there's potentially more people involved there. In this Bryan Kohberger case, it's like a freaking straight road. There's no clouds in the sky. There's a huge light at the end of the tunnel, and Bryan Kohberger's face is right there. As far as where this is going, in my opinion, my thoughts.
And these motions are just like little speed bumps.
I mean, they're talking. The judge was talking about coming up with a date for the trial before he came up with an answer for this reconsideration stuff.
Well,
what does that tell you? Yeah, he knew about it, and he still created the date that they're going to put a date.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's just saying, all right, you know, we're all while we're at it, while I'm telling you no, let me go ahead and put in a time for a trial.
Yeah,
that's because I think they're trying to rush it, not rush it. They're trying to put it like they said. The whole reason why they had to demolish the house and do everything now is because they want the trials for the summertime. They want to avoid the school time, so that way it's not causing traffic or not causing a dilemma with hotel rentals for graduations and
a logistic problem.
Yeah, so that town's too small for that. I mean, we saw when we tried to book something, everything was sold out.
Yeah,
that week that we wanted to go out there for his court hearing.
Well, the Airbnbs were available, but they were expensive.
Yeah,
they knew people were coming, but yeah, man. And I get it, you know, move it as fast as possible, but you know, the summer logistically it does make more sense. You know, it doesn't cause an issue for safety concerns for high school students and college kids. And you got to look out for the community as well. And he'll have his day in court. I think personally, he's probably going to have his day before Richard Allen. I think there's going to be a trial this summer. I think that the prosecution and the court system, they want justice already, and they want to try this guy. You know, and you know, if he's putting out there that they're making trial dates when there's still things pending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that tells. Yeah, you're right. Oh, maybe they could both start at the same time. Sure.
Yeah, it's because we're 6 months away. And the judge is going to get these trial dates, you know, okay, we'll do the next trial in 2 weeks. Okay, accept or reject. Check off next trial. Next thing you want to rebuttal. This is the date we're setting. Be ready.
Yeah.
It's like, where can I schedule my prostate exam?
And he probably gets one of those daily in prison after his release.
Dude, he's gonna be on segregation by himself.
I know. After he gets off of the segregation, after a while, they sometimes go back to gym pop.
Nah, dude, he'll be on death row, Holmes.
Well, that's right. I mean, the death row has their own wing.
Yeah, and then they're by themselves.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that the state does the job and not the inmates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In those type of situations. Yeah, he'd be on death row. He'd be segregated. He'd be by himself 23 hours a day and get 1 hour to go outside in the cage to look at the sun until his final day. If he's found guilty.
What's worse? Spending life or the penalty?
I mean, when you think about it, 23 hours a day.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, right?
I mean, I think it is.
But I mean, then again, like when you're on death row, right? Like it takes years upon years too. I mean, I guess it depends where you're at too.
Well, it does because it gives the defendant time to do his appeals and all those things. They want to ensure they give that person every opportunity to prove that perhaps there was somebody else, or that they're innocent, so that they don't put an innocent person, to death. So
Yeah.
because those things happen. I mean, I'd be ignorant to say that, it's never happened before. It has.
What would you choose?
Me?
If you had those two options, life in prison or
the latter, dude. I'd go quicker, man. I don't want to be in a prison cell 23 hours a day by myself.
Me too.
There.
Me too, man. Hey, me too.
Freaking clock would start going backwards at that time.
Yeah, right. You don't need one at that time.
Right. Hell no, man. You go crazy in that type of situation. Especially if you don't have like a window or something. Shoot, you don't even know what time it is. Hell no, man.
What about you, Blue? What would you pick?
I would say the DP.
Oh.
Wrong conversation. I thought we were talking about a pineapple.
Right answer to the wrong question.
No, that was the right answer to the wrong question. So
I would say death penalty. The easiest way.
Yeah.
No, if I was guilty and I did it, I would probably man up and say, death penalty. Let's go.
Let's
I'll
do it
myself.
What did they tell you is the firing squad?
Hey, they say that's the best one.
I don't know, man. That shit sound painful as hell, dude.
But you won't feel it after the first hit. At least the other ones, if they botch the injections, they still burning the skins. You'll feel everything burning in your skin, and you slowly die.
Well, then
dude, if I wasn't part of the firing squad, knowing the way I play Fortnite, I'll be shooting everybody's legs.
You shoot him in the foot. Man. Like, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I would do the firing squad thing. I think at that point I might say, you know what, I'll go ahead and stay here. I don't want to go out like that. Right. If that was the option, what would you choose if it was the firing squad? Because when you presented the
fire squad,
you're going firing squad. Sheesh.
Yeah. No, I want to be on the fire.
How far do you think they're away from that shot?
25 yards, maybe.
Shit, that's a good distance to shoot, dude. You better be accurate as hell.
Well, it's normally 3 sharpshooters, right? And then only one gets a bullet.
I think it's 4, and one get a bullet, but I don't know if they're like sharpshooters and they're like trying to shoot from they probably are. Probably at a distance up.
They're from the academy.
Right. Yeah. The smart thing would be it's probably elevated and the subject would be lower, because if you're going straight ahead, you're gonna hurt yourself with the other person on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know, man. I thought it was wild that they brought that back. I didn't think there was a chance that was going to be done. And then
they made the manufacturing of the lethal injection, some of the chemicals illegal, or some states they can't get it. They can't get it. So that's the more lethal, the more euthanasia way to do it without torturing somebody.
Yeah, you're probably right there, man. But shit, if you didn't want to do it, if you couldn't handle that, you shouldn't have done the crime, right?
Yeah, there's 308 and it says supposedly maybe 6. Yeah, I mean, supposedly, from what I hear, from what I read when they came back up, that it's an instant. You get hit, and pretty much your heart stops beating, and that's it. Mm-hmm. You're not in pain after that. And the other ones, the chemicals burn going in. They botch it. I mean, there's a story about the guy that they botched it, and he, I guess, passed away, but he came back for a second, and he was just screaming in agony.
Yeah,
because it was burning, man. So.
Eye for an eye, baby.
Yeah, I want to say, thank you for those that supported tonight. We had Angel D, who's a member for 9 months. We had Canadian True Crime Buff, who gifted 5 Drunk Turkey Show memberships. We appreciate that. So did Leticia. We hope you're doing better. We hope you're feeling good.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's doing better. One more night in the hospital and we should be out.
One more night.
Awesome.
Looking forward to you getting out in there. Everything went well. The Real Micro K came in with a $9.99 super chat. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the donation and the the support. Overall, like I said, I mean, in both of these cases, they're going to be interesting, man. We're gonna stay tuned. We're gonna watch the court hearings and everything else. So make sure you like and subscribe.
Please do.
And share this if you can. If you see true crime podcast forums on Facebook or Reddit or whatever, share the cast, man. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Or if y'all know any interesting cases, shoot us an email or shoot us a message on Messenger that you might want to look at.
Yeah. I know there's one right now with like these 3 Chief fans that passed away outside, frozen. It's like making the rounds. Yeah. They were at their buddy's house and he woke up and they couldn't get a hold of him. And the next day, they went outside and there was 3 of them frozen to death. Family don't believe, they think there's foul play. Law enforcement don't think there's foul play.
They went to a football party, right? A watch party?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one. That's crazy.
But that night of the game, man, it was like negative, like with the windshield, it was like negative 30 or some shit like that. So
yeah, I think it was negative 20.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to get hypothermia and freezing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well, guys, we'll be back on Monday. We're probably going to do a members only show this Sunday since I have nothing to do on Sundays anymore. And
wonder why.
Damn you, Steelers. Damn you.
It's okay.
But
let's go Texans.
I hope the Texans take it. I don't think they are.
Remove them.
I don't think they are. I think they're probably the least likely team to do it, but I hope they do. Because the underdog, we lost to Josh Allen and the Bills, and they were throwing snowballs at our players, so I don't like them anymore. And then the Chiefs, I'm sorry, Jaime, close your ears. I'm not a Swiftie. That whole phenomenon.
Oh yeah,
it's just it doesn't bother me, but it's like get back to the game. Nobody wants to watch what she's, her dance moves.
It's true.
I don't know. Maybe Jaime likes to watch her dance moves, but yeah, not just that though. I mean, you have the whole, Mahomes' brother, Patrick Mahomes. I think that's what his name is, or Jackson Mahomes. There we go, Jackson, not Patrick. That's the guy, Jackson Mahomes. He's got charges on him right now for sexual assault. He forced a bar owner to make out with him or something like that. And then he was also the guy that was like dancing on things on TikTok, and he danced on, they were doing a jersey retirement ceremony on this guy he played for Washington, and they were doing a remembrance of him. He had passed away. He was by intruders. Intruders went into his house and shot him during a robbery. And this dude was dancing. They put his jersey on the field, and they had like tightrope around it. He went around the rope and started dancing on the jersey for TikTok. Like, yeah, I don't like him. I don't like the Chiefs because of it. It is what it is.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a story about that player then. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Jackson Mahomes. He's a weird guy, man. Does some weird things. Things.
I don't know. 50's far away. I don't think we're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there, Blue. What are you talking about? We're gonna get there.
I know, dude.
This year. No, I'm saying we'll get there. I will honor it. I will honor it.
We're gonna get there. We'll get there by the end of this year. I promise that. That's our goal for the year. That's our resolution. We're gonna keep it this time, unlike all the other ones where we were promising to lose weight. We will keep this New Year's resolution. Well, I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good one. This went a little bit longer than expected. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But with that.